Jinna Kim stared at the assignment paper in her hands, trying to hide her disappointment. 3 months on a distant planet watching aliens was not how she had planned to finish her degree. "Is there any other option, Professor Taewon?" she asked, looking up at the older man seated behind the desk. Professor Taewon shook his head. His gray hair caught the morning light coming through the window of his university office. "This is the perfect final exam for a xenoanthropology student, Jinna. 3 months observing the natives of Eridani 9, writing detailed reports, and then you can graduate. Many students would be thrilled with this opportunity." Jinna sighed and pushed her long black hair behind her ear. "I understand. It's just that I've been studying for 6 years. I was hoping to finish my dissertation and start working at the research center." "This field experience is the last requirement," Professor Taewon said firmly. "The university ship leaves in 3 days. You'll be working with Hyun-Ki Lee. He created the cloaking technology you'll be using." Jinna nodded, knowing there was no way around this. She folded the paper and put it in her bag. "I'll be ready," she said, standing up to leave. Back in her small apartment, Jinna began packing her things. Her roommate Sumin watched from the doorway. 3 months? Sumin asked. "That's a long time to be away." "It will go by quickly," Jinna said, though she didn't believe it. "I just need to observe the aliens, take notes, and not interfere with their culture. Then I can finally graduate." "What are these aliens like?" Sumin asked, sitting on Jinna's bed. Jinna pulled up a hologram on her tablet. It showed a humanoid figure with blue skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. The alien was dressed in simple cloth wrappings and carrying a spear. "They're called Eridanians," Jinna explained. "They have a pre-industrial society similar to Earth's Bronze Age. They worship the stars and have an elaborate religious system. Our job is to study them without being seen." "Sounds interesting," Sumin said. "I just want to pass the exam," Jinna replied, closing the hologram. "I've worked too hard to fail now." 3 days later, Jinna stood at the loading dock of Seoul National University's space program, watching crew members load equipment onto the research vessel. The ship wasn't very large, just big enough for a research team of 6 people to live comfortably for a few months. "You must be Jinna Kim," said a voice behind her. She turned to see a young man about her age, with short black hair and friendly eyes. He wore the standard blue uniform of the technical division. "I'm Hyun-Ki Lee," he said, extending his hand. "I'll be handling the cloaking technology for our mission." Jinna shook his hand. "Nice to meet you. This is my first field assignment." "Mine too," Hyun-Ki admitted with a smile. "I've spent the last 3 years developing the cloaking devices in the lab. This will be the first major field test. They should keep us completely hidden from the natives." "Should?" Jinna raised an eyebrow. Hyun-Ki laughed. "They will, I'm confident. As long as we follow the maintenance schedule, we'll be invisible to the Eridanians." A tall, broad-shouldered man approached them. His uniform had the gold stripes of a captain, and his face showed years of experience. "I'm Captain Daesung Park," he said in a deep voice. "You two are our student researchers?" They nodded. "This is my 30th expedition," the captain continued. "I expect you both to follow all protocols. The most important rule is non-interference. We observe only. We do not contact the natives under any circumstances. Is that clear?" "Yes, Captain," they both replied. "Good. We leave in 1 hour. Get your personal items on board." Jinna called her parents to say goodbye. Her mother looked worried on the video screen. "Be careful, Jinna," she said. "Space travel is dangerous." "I'll be fine, Mom," Jinna assured her. "This is a routine mission. The university has done this many times." "We're proud of you," her father added, moving into view. "You'll be an excellent anthropologist." "Xenoanthropologist," Jinna corrected with a smile. "I study alien cultures, not human ones." "Aliens, humans, people are people," her father said. "Just remember to be respectful of their ways." "That's the whole point, Dad. We observe without interfering. I'll see you in 3 months." Once on board, Jinna found her quarters, a small but comfortable room with a bed, desk, and storage space. She unpacked her clothes and research equipment including her special notebook. Despite having advanced tablets and recording devices, Jinnah preferred writing her initial observations by hand. It helped her think. The ship rumbled as the engines started. Jinnah sat on her bed, feeling a mix of anxiety and excitement. This was really happening. The journey to Eridani 9 would take 2 weeks in hyperspace. During that time, Jinnah studied everything known about the planet and its inhabitants. She learned that the Eridanians lived in small settlements scattered across their main continent. They hunted, farmed, and had a complex social structure based on family groups. Most interesting to Jinnah was their religion. The Eridanians worshipped the stars, believing that celestial bodies were gods watching over them. They had elaborate ceremonies during astronomical events like eclipses or meteor showers. Their whole culture revolves around sky worship, Hyun-Ki said during one of their preparation meetings. It makes sense when you consider their planet has 3 moons and frequent meteor activity. Captain Dae-sung pointed to a map. We'll set up our observation post here, on this ridge overlooking the largest settlement. The cloaking field will cover our camp and equipment. From there, you'll be able to observe daily activities in the village. Jinnah studied the map. How close can we get to them? No closer than 50 meters, the captain said firmly. Even with the cloaking technology, we can't risk detection. Remember, we're here to observe, not interact. The ship exited hyperspace near Eridani 9, giving Jinnah her first real view of the planet. From space, it looked beautiful. Swirls of green, blue, and purple covered its surface. Its 3 moons orbited in different patterns, creating a dance in the sky. As they descended through the atmosphere, Jinnah felt her heart beating faster. Years of study were about to become real experience. Whatever happened in the next 3 months would determine whether she passed or failed her final exam. The ship landed in a clearing 10 kilometers from the nearest settlement. The crew quickly set up the base camp, including the cloaking field, generators. By nightfall, their entire operation was invisible to anyone looking from outside. That night, Jinnah stood at the edge of the camp, looking at the distant lights of the alien village. Tomorrow, she would begin her observations. Tomorrow, the real test would start. Nervous? Hyun-Ki asked, joining her. A little, Jinnah admitted. I've studied the Eridanians for years, but seeing them in person will be different. We'll be fine, Hyun-Ki assured her. The cloaking tech is perfect. They'll never know we're here. Jinnah nodded, but something in her stomach felt uneasy. She looked up at the strange stars of this foreign sky and wondered what the next 3 months would bring. 3 months, she whispered to herself. Just 3 months. Then I can graduate. Little did Jinnah know that her simple final exam was about to become much more complicated than anyone had planned. For 2 months, Jinnah Kim followed the same routine. Every morning she would wake up early, grab her notebook, and hike to the observation post on the ridge. From there, she could see the entire Eridanian village below. She watched as the blue-skinned aliens went about their daily lives, farming in the fields, hunting in the forests, and gathering in the central square for community events. They're not so different from us, Jinnah said to Hyun-Ki one morning as they sat at the observation post. Both wore their cloaking devices, which bent light around their bodies, making them invisible to the aliens below. Hyun-Ki nodded, adjusting his recording equipment. They have families, jobs, conflicts, celebrations. The only major difference is their appearance and technology level. Jinnah wrote detailed notes about everything she saw. She was particularly interested in the Eridanians' religious practices. Every 10 days they gathered in the stone temple at the center of the village. The 4-eyed village elder, who Jinnah had learned was named Karo, would lead the community in prayers to the sky gods. Their entire belief system revolves around celestial events, Jinnah explained to Captain Dae-sung during their weekly report. They see the movements of the stars and moons as messages from their gods. Have you identified their main deities? The captain asked. Yes, Jinnah replied, showing him her notes. Each of their 3 moons represents a different god. The largest moon is Vara, goddess of life and growth. The middle moon is Tono, god of hunting and strength. The smallest moon is Pela, goddess of wisdom and healing. Jinnah was proud of her research. She had collected more data in 2 months than previous researchers had gathered in twice that time. Her final exam paper was taking shape nicely. She just needed 1 more month, and then she could return to Earth and finish her degree. On the 61st day of their mission, Hyun-ki received exciting news from the ship's astronomer. "Tonight is going to be special," he told Jinna as they ate breakfast. "All 3 moons will align with their sun, creating a rare eclipse. This only happens once every 12 years. The Eridanians must have a ceremony planned," Jinna said, immediately thinking about her research. "This could be the most important observation of our entire mission. We should set up additional recording equipment," Hyun-ki suggested. "I can position cameras at different angles around the village." Jinna nodded eagerly. "This could be the perfect conclusion for my paper, a first-hand account of their most sacred ceremony." That afternoon, they hiked to the ridge with extra equipment. The village below was buzzing with activity. The Eridanians were decorating the temple with colorful banners and preparing large bowls of food for a feast. "Look at that," Jinna said, pointing to a group of aliens painting their faces with blue and silver patterns. "They're preparing for something big." As the sun began to set, the Eridanians gathered in the central square. They wore their finest clothes and carried small glowing crystals that Jinna had learned were considered sacred. Elder Kero stood on the temple steps, his 4 eyes raised to the darkening sky where the 3 moons were becoming visible. Jinna and Hyun-ki watched from their position on the ridge, recording everything. Jinna's heart beat faster with excitement. This was anthropology at its finest, observing an ancient ceremony that few humans would ever see. Then, without warning, the ground beneath them shook. "Earthquake!" Hyun-ki shouted, grabbing onto a nearby rock for support. Jinna lost her balance as the earth trembled violently. Her equipment crashed to the ground. She reached for her cloaking device, which had started to beep with a warning sound. "My cloaking device is malfunctioning," she called to Hyun-ki, who was trying to secure their fallen equipment. "Don't move," he yelled back. "I'll fix it once the quake stops." But the shaking continued. Rocks began to tumble down the ridge. Jinna stepped back to avoid a falling boulder and felt the ground crumble beneath her feet. "Hyun-ki!" she screamed as she began to slide down the steep slope. Hyun-ki lunged for her hand but missed. Jinna tumbled down the hillside, rolling through dirt and rocks, her cloaking device sparking and then failing completely. Pain shot through her body as she fell, finally coming to a stop at the bottom of the ridge. For a moment, Jinna lay still, trying to catch her breath. Her head throbbed and she could feel blood trickling down her face. She slowly sat up, checking for broken bones. Nothing seemed broken, but her left ankle hurt terribly when she tried to stand. Then she realized where she was. The earthquake had stopped, but her cloaking device was dead. She was fully visible, and less than 30 meters from the Eridanian village. "No, no, no," she whispered, frantically trying to reactivate her cloaking device. It was useless, its circuitry damaged beyond quick repair. Jinna looked up at the ridge, hoping to see Hyun-ki, but he was either still cloaked or not in sight. She reached for her communication device to call for help, but it was crushed from the fall. "This can't be happening," she muttered, trying to crawl back toward the ridge, wincing at the pain in her ankle. Then she heard gasps coming from the village. The Eridanians had seen her. Jinna froze, remembering the strict non-interference rule. This was the worst possible scenario. She had been seen by the natives during their most sacred ceremony, no less. She looked up at the sky and realized the timing couldn't be worse. The 3 moons were aligning with the sun, beginning the rare eclipse. From the Eridanians' perspective, a strange being had just fallen from the sky at the exact moment of their holiest event. The aliens were pointing at her now, their 4 eyes wide with shock. Elder Kero had stopped mid-chant, his mouth open in surprise. "I need to get out of here," Jinna thought desperately. But when she tried to stand, pain shot through her ankle and she fell back to the ground. Several Eridanians were approaching her now, moving cautiously. Jinna could see both fear and wonder in their eyes. She remembered her translator device, still attached to her belt. At least she could understand them, even if communication was strictly forbidden by mission rules. It fell from the sky, one of the aliens said in a hushed voice, the translator converting their language to Korean in Gina's ear. During the sacred alignment, another added with awe. Elder Kiro approached slowly, his ceremonial staff held before him. "Are you from the moons?" he asked hesitantly. Gina didn't know what to do. Any response would violate protocol, but she was injured and outnumbered. She had to say something. "I'm not what you think," she said carefully, the translator converting her words to the Eridanian language. "I'm just a student." The aliens gasped when she spoke. They hadn't expected her to understand their language. "It speaks our words," one whispered. "A student?" Elder Kiro repeated, sounding confused. "A student of what?" Gina realized her mistake too late. In their primitive society, student didn't translate as she intended. The translator had used their word for one who seeks divine knowledge. "I need to return to my people," Gina said, trying to stand again but failing. Elder Kiro turned to the gathered Eridanians, raising his staff high. "The prophecy is fulfilled," he declared loudly. "On the night of the Great Alignment, a divine seeker has fallen from the heavens." The crowd erupted in excited chattering. Several aliens knelt on the ground, bowing to Gina. "No, please don't," she protested, horrified at the misunderstanding. "I'm not a divine anything. I'm just—" Her words were cut off by a loud rumble from the sky. Gina looked up to see dark clouds forming above the village. The earthquake had triggered atmospheric disturbances. Lightning flashed dramatically behind her, making the Eridanians fall to their knees in reverence. "Great One," Elder Kiro said, bowing deeply. "The temple awaits you." As several aliens gently lifted Gina from the ground, she caught a glimpse of the ridge where she had been observing just minutes before. For a brief second, she thought she saw Hyun-Ki's face, watching in horror as she was carried toward the village temple. "So much for passing my final exam," Gina thought as the aliens bore her through the awed crowd, completely unaware that they were carrying not a goddess, but a graduate student who had just made the biggest mistake of her academic career. Gina sat on a large stone chair inside the Eridanian temple. The chair had been covered with soft, colorful cloths for her comfort. Her injured ankle had been wrapped in leaves that smelled like mint and gave off a cooling sensation that eased her pain. All around her, blue-skinned aliens moved about, bringing bowls of fruit, small shiny objects, and strange flowering plants that they placed at her feet. 3 days had passed since her fall. 3 days of being treated like a goddess while Jin-Ah desperately tried to explain that she was just a student. But each attempt only seemed to strengthen their belief in her divine nature. "The Great One is humble," Elder Kiro had explained to the gathered villagers after Jinna's repeated denials of godhood. "She tests our faith by denying her power." Jinna sighed, looking around the temple. It was a circular stone building with a large opening in the ceiling that allowed her to see the 3 moons of Eridani 9. The walls were covered in paintings that showed blue figures bowing to white figures that came from the sky. Jinna realized with horror that there were actual prophecies about beings like her. "Great One, are you comfortable?" asked a young Eridanian approaching her chair. This was Yana, a female who had been assigned as Jinna's personal attendant. Yana was younger than most of the Eridanians Jinna had seen, probably their equivalent of a teenager. She had been training to be a priest before Jinna's arrival, and now considered serving Jinna to be the highest honor. "Yes, thank you, Yana," Jinna replied. Her translator device still worked, allowing her to communicate with the aliens. "And please call me Jinna, not Great One." Yana blinked her 4 eyes in what Jinna had learned was an expression of confusion. "But that would be disrespectful," she said. "You fell from the heavens during the sacred alignment. You are divine." Jinna was about to argue again but stopped herself. She had tried countless times to explain that she was human, not divine, but the Eridanians simply couldn't accept it. She decided to try a different approach. "Yana, in my world, teachers and students share knowledge as equals. I would like you to teach me about your people while I am here." Yana's eyes widened. You wish to learn from me? But you know all things. I don't, Gina said firmly. There is much I don't know about your daily lives, your customs, your history. Will you teach me? Yana looked shocked, but then bowed deeply. If that is your wish, I will teach you. Though, I cannot imagine what a divine being would need to learn from me. Gina smiled. This was progress. Maybe if she could establish herself as a learner rather than a deity, she could gradually change their perception of her. Just then, a commotion began outside the temple. Gina heard raised voices and what sounded like arguing. What's happening? She asked Yana. It is Maro, Yana explained, looking uncomfortable. He was our high priest before you arrived. He questions your divinity. Gina perked up at this. Someone who didn't think she was a goddess? This could be helpful. Bring him to me, she said. Yana looked worried but went to the temple entrance. A moment later, she returned with an older Eridanian male. Maro had deep blue skin that was wrinkled with age. His four eyes narrowed as he looked at Gina. So this is the sky being everyone worships now, he said, not bowing as the others did. You look like no god I have ever seen in visions. That's because I'm not a god, Gina replied honestly. I'm a visitor from another world, but I'm not divine. Maro's top two eyes widened slightly, perhaps surprised by her response. Then why do you let them worship you? Why do you sit on the sacred chair and accept offerings? Gina sighed. I've tried to tell them the truth, but they won't believe me. They think my denials are some kind of divine test. Maro studied her for a long moment. You are strange looking, with your pale skin and only two eyes, but I sensed no godly power when you arrived. Just confusion and pain from your fall. You're right, Gina said, feeling hopeful that someone finally understood. I was hurt and afraid. Not very godlike emotions. Maro stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. Then what are you, really? And why are you here? Gina hesitated. She was already breaking so many protocols by simply being in the village, but perhaps the truth, or at least part of it, would help her situation. I come from a world called Earth. My people travel between stars to learn about other worlds, and their people. We watch and study, but we aren't supposed to interfere or be seen. My appearance here was an accident. Maro's eyes narrowed again. You spy on us? For what purpose? Not spying, Gina corrected quickly. Observing, learning. We want to understand different cultures, different ways of living. We mean no harm. Before Maro could respond, the temple doors burst open. Elder Kiro entered with several other Eridanians. They carried a small blue child who appeared very ill. Great One, Elder Kiro said urgently. This child has the shaking sickness. Her family begs for your divine healing. Gina looked at the child with concern. The small girl was trembling uncontrollably, her skin pale and her breathing shallow. I'm not a healer, Gina said, panic rising in her chest. I don't have divine powers. Prove it, Maro challenged quietly beside her. If you truly care about our people as you claim, prove it now. Gina felt trapped. She wasn't a doctor, but she did have basic medical training and her emergency kit was still attached to her belt. Using it would violate more protocols, but she couldn't let a child suffer if she could help. She carefully examined the girl, noting her symptoms. The translator in her ear picked up the mother's description of the illness, and Gina recognized it as something similar to a severe fever, with seizures. Her kit contained medicine that might help reduce the fever and calm the seizures. Gina took a deep breath and made her decision. She removed a small injector from her kit. This is medicine from my world, she explained to the worried parents. It might help your daughter, but I cannot promise. The parents looked at Elder Kiro, who nodded his approval. Gina administered the injection, then used a small scanner to monitor the child's vital signs. Within minutes, the girl's trembling began to subside and her breathing became more regular. The child's parents fell to their knees, thanking Gina profusely. Elder Kiro raised his arms to the gathered crowd. Behold the divine healing, he proclaimed. The Great One has blessed us with her powers. Jinna tried to explain that it was medicine, not magic, but her words were drowned out by the cheers of the crowd. Beside her, Maro watched with a mixture of suspicion and reluctant amazement. Later that night, after the temple had emptied of worshippers, Jinna sat alone by a small window. She looked up at the stars, wondering if Hyun-Ki and the others were trying to find a way to rescue her. Her communication device was broken, so she had no way to contact the ship. A small noise made her turn. A section of the wall seemed to shimmer, and then Hyun-Ki appeared, his cloaking device deactivating. "Jinna," he whispered, rushing to her side. "Are you okay? We've been trying to reach you for days." Jinna almost cried with relief at seeing a familiar face. "My comm device broke in the fall. Is the captain furious?" "Beyond furious," Hyun-Ki admitted. "But that's not important right now. The atmospheric disturbance from the earthquake is still interfering with the ship's systems. Captain Dae-sung says it will be at least 2 more weeks before they can land to extract you." Jinna's heart sank. 2 weeks? Hyun-Ki, they think I'm a goddess. I've already broken every protocol by being seen, talking to them, even using my medical kit to help a sick child. Hyun-Ki looked troubled. "The captain said to maintain your cover and minimize further impact until we can get you out. We'll try to communicate through the cloaking visits each night." "This is a disaster," Jinna whispered. "My final exam is ruined. I'll probably be expelled from the program." Hyun-Ki put a hand on her shoulder. "One problem at a time. For now, just stay safe. I have to go before someone sees me." After Hyun-Ki left, Jinna stared out the window again, watching the 3 moons of Eridani 9. She had come here to observe an alien culture, and now she had become part of it. Their goddess, their healer, their great one. "Some final exam," she muttered to herself as she prepared for another day of unwanted worship. 1 month after Jinna's arrival in the Eridanian village, she woke to the sound of wailing outside the temple. She sat up quickly on the soft bed they had made for her and saw Yana rushing into her chamber, looking worried. "Great one. Something terrible is happening," Yana said, her 4 eyes wide with fear. "What is it?" Jinna asked, getting up and reaching for her clothes. "Many people in the village have fallen sick overnight. They burn with fever and cannot keep food down. Elder Kiro asks for your help." Jinna felt a knot of dread form in her stomach. A disease outbreak was the last thing she needed. Her medical supplies were limited, meant only for emergency personal use, not for treating an entire village. She followed Yana outside the temple. The morning air was cool, but Jinna barely noticed as she saw the scene before her. At least 20 Eridanians lay on mats in the village square, their blue skin pale with illness. Family members tended to them, placing wet cloths on their foreheads and offering water. Elder Kiro approached Jinna, bowing deeply. "Great one, we do not understand. What has befallen our people? 10 more fell ill during the night. We have tried our healing herbs, but nothing helps." Jinna looked at the sick villagers, her mind racing. She recognized the symptoms from her xenobiology studies. This looked like meridian fever, a disease that affected species with copper-based blood like the Eridanians. It was highly contagious and could be deadly without proper treatment. "How did it start?" Jinna asked, kneeling beside a sick child. 3 days ago, traders came from the eastern village, Elder Kiro explained. They left a day later, and then our people began to fall ill. Jinna realized the disease must have spread from village to village through the traders. That meant other settlements might be affected too. "I need to examine them," Jinna said, taking out her small medical scanner. She was already breaking protocols, but she couldn't just watch these people die. She scanned several sick villagers, confirming her suspicions. It was meridian fever, and it was progressing quickly. That night, after treating as many patients as she could with her limited supplies, Jinna met with Hyun-Ki in the temple. His nightly visits had become her only connection to her real life. "It's getting worse," she told him. 28 sick now, and my medical supplies are almost gone. I need more medicine from the ship." Hyun-Ki looked troubled. "Jinna, I just spoke with Captain Dae-sung. He explicitly ordered no further interference. He said you've already violated every protocol in the book. People are dying, Hyun-ki, Gina said, her voice rising in frustration. I can't just sit here and do nothing when I have the knowledge to help them. The captain says this is a natural disease progression. Interfering could alter their entire cultural development, Hyun-ki argued, though Gina could tell his heart wasn't in it. My presence already changed things, Gina countered. Besides, what's the point of all our knowledge if we don't use it to help others? Before Hyun-ki could respond, they heard footsteps approaching the temple. He quickly activated his cloaking, device disappearing from view just as Yana entered. Great One, I apologize for disturbing you, Yana said, bowing. But Elder Kiro wishes to speak with you. It is urgent. Gina followed Yana to the village square, where Elder Kiro stood with Maro and several other Eridanians. Their expressions were grim. What has happened? Gina asked. Word has reached us from the trading paths, Elder Kiro said solemnly. 6 nearby villages now suffer from the same sickness. Many have died. Gina felt sick. The disease was spreading, faster than she had feared. There is more, Maro added, his voice sharp. The village of Bren believes we have brought a curse upon the region by worshipping a false deity. He looked pointedly at Gina. They say your arrival angered the true gods who sent this illness as punishment. That's not true, Gina protested, though she wondered if her presence had somehow caused this crisis. Could she have brought earth bacteria that mutated? It seemed unlikely given the decontamination procedures, but she couldn't be certain. The Bren village and 2 others are preparing to attack us, Elder Kiro continued. They believe destroying you will end the sickness. Gina felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on her. This was far worse than failing her final exam. Her presence had sparked a religious conflict that could lead to war. I need time to think, she said, returning to the temple. Inside, she found Hyun-ki waiting, his cloaking device deactivated. I heard everything, he said. Gina, this is beyond bad. The captain needs to know. Tell him, Gina said, pacing the stone floor. But also tell him I need medical supplies. I think I can create a vaccine for the meridian fever using components from my emergency kit and local plants. A vaccine? Hyun-ki looked shocked. That would completely change their medical development. They're already on the path to medical advancement, Gina argued. I've been teaching Yana basic hygiene and quarantine procedures. She's smart, Hyun-ki. She understands these aren't divine powers, but knowledge that can be learned. Gina sat down, feeling exhausted. I know I've ruined my academic career. I'll never pass my final exam now. But I can't let these people die or start killing each other because of me. Hyun-ki was quiet for a long moment. Then he sighed. I'll talk to the captain. No promises, but I'll try. After Hyun-ki left, Gina called for Yana. The young Eridanian had proven to be a quick learner, absorbing everything Gina taught her about disease prevention. Yana, I need your help, Gina said. We're going to make medicine to fight this sickness, but we need plants from the forest. Can you help me find them? Of course, Great One, Yana replied eagerly. But our healers have already tried all known healing plants. We'll combine them in new ways, Gina explained. I'll teach you as we work. For the next 2 days, Gina and Yana worked tirelessly, gathering plants and creating a basic vaccine using Gina's remaining medical supplies. Gina taught Yana about germs, invisible tiny beings that cause disease, and how to fight them. She showed her how to boil water to make it safe and how to prevent disease spread through proper cleaning. Yana absorbed it all, her 4 eyes wide with wonder. This is not divine magic, she said as they worked. This is knowledge that anyone can learn. Yes, Gina agreed, relieved that Yana was beginning to understand. On my world, we study and share knowledge so everyone can benefit. On the morning of the 3rd day, as they were preparing to test their vaccine, shouts rang out from the village edge. Gina rushed outside to see armed Eridanians approaching from the forest path. The people from neighboring villages had arrived, carrying spears and looking angry. "They blame us for the sickness," Elder Kiro said, standing beside Jinnah. "They have come to destroy the false deity." Jinnah looked at the approaching group, then at the sick villagers still lying in the square. She thought of Hyun-ki, who had promised to try to bring supplies but hadn't returned. She thought of Captain Dae-sung and his orders not to interfere. She thought of her final exam, her degree, her future career, all now surely lost. Then she looked at Yana, who watched her with trust and hope in her 4 eyes. "Get everyone inside who can move," Jinnah told Elder Kero. "Protect the sick. I will handle this." As the hostile villagers approached, Jinnah walked forward alone to meet them, her head held high. She didn't have divine powers, but she had knowledge, and right now, that would have to be enough. Jinnah stood alone in the village square as the angry crowd approached. There were about 30 Eridanians from the neighboring villages, carrying spears and torches. Their blue faces were painted with red marks that Jinnah had learned were symbols of war. "I am Jinnah Kim," she called out to them in their language. "I have come to help, not harm. The sickness is not a punishment from the gods." A tall Eridanian stepped forward from the group. He wore a necklace of large teeth marking him as a leader. "False deity," he shouted, pointing his spear at Jinnah. "You brought this curse upon our people. When we destroy you, the true gods will end this sickness." Jinnah took a deep breath. She had no weapons, no special powers, just her knowledge. Behind her, the villagers watched from doorways and windows, the sick still lying in their beds. "The sickness is not a curse," Jinnah explained, calmly. "It is caused by tiny beings too small to see with your eyes. They pass from person to person through touch and breath." The leader laughed harshly. "More lies from a false god." Jinnah remained steady. "I am not a god. I am a visitor from another world, a student of knowledge. I have been teaching your ways of fighting this sickness." She gestured to Yana, who stood nearby holding a bowl of the vaccine they had made. "We have created medicine that can help prevent the sickness from spreading. We wish to share it with all villages," the crowd murmured, some looking uncertain, others still angry. The leader raised his spear higher. "Prove you are not bringing more harm," he demanded. Before Jinnah could respond, the sky suddenly glowed with bright light. Everyone looked up to see a massive shape descending from the clouds. Jinnah recognized it immediately, the research ship. Captain Dae-sung had finally arrived to extract her. The Eridanians fell to their knees in fear and awe as the ship hovered above the village, its engines creating a warm wind that blew through the square. "Do not be afraid," Jinnah called to them, raising her hands. "These are my people. They have come with medicine and help." A beam of light shot down from the ship, and 3 figures materialized in the square. Jinnah recognized Captain Dae-sung, Hyun-ki, and Dr. Min, the ship's medical officer. They wore protective suits to prevent contamination. "Jinnah," Captain Dae-sung said through his suit's speaker, his voice stern. "This situation has gone far beyond protocol violations." "I know, Captain," Jinnah replied, standing her ground. "But these people are dying. We have the means to help them." Dr. Min stepped forward carrying a large medical case. "I've analyzed the samples Hyun-ki brought. It's meridian fever, just as you suspected. We have proper vaccines and treatments." Jinnah felt relief wash over her. "Thank you," she said quietly. Captain Dae-sung looked around at the kneeling Eridanians, then at the sick villagers in their beds. His stern expression softened slightly. "Dr. Min will treat the sick," he said. "We will distribute vaccines to all villages. But Jinnah, once this crisis is contained, you're coming back with us. The university will determine what happens to your academic standing." Jinnah nodded, accepting her fate. "I understand, Captain." Over the next 2 days, Dr. Min worked with Jinnah and Yana to treat the sick in all the villages. The proper medicine worked quickly, and soon many were recovering. The ship's crew distributed vaccines, preventing the disease from spreading further. During this time, Jinnah continued teaching Yana everything she could about basic medicine and hygiene. She knew she would have to leave soon, and she wanted to ensure the Eridanians could protect themselves in the future. You must continue teaching others what you've learned, Gina told Yana on the evening before her departure. Knowledge is more powerful than any divine blessing. Yana nodded, her 4 eyes bright with understanding. I will teach them that you are not a goddess but a teacher. That is far more valuable. On the morning Gina was scheduled to leave, the entire village gathered in the square. Elder Caro approached her, holding a small carved statue that resembled Gina. We have created this to remember you, he said, presenting it to her. Not as a goddess to worship, but as a teacher to honor. Gina felt tears in her eyes as she accepted the gift. Thank you, she said. Continue learning and sharing knowledge. That is the true path to growth. The leader from the neighboring village was there too. He stepped forward and bowed to Gina. We were wrong to fear you, he said. Your medicine saved many lives in my village. We will listen to Yana and learn these new ways. As Gina prepared to board the ship with Captain Dae-sung and the others, Yana rushed forward. Will you return someday? She asked, her voice hopeful. Gina looked at Captain Dae-sung, who gave a small nod. Perhaps, Gina told Yana. When your people are ready for more knowledge, teachers like me may return openly. With final goodbyes, Gina boarded the ship. As it rose into the sky, she watched the Eridanians growing smaller below, Yana's figure standing tall among them. 2 weeks later, Gina sat nervously outside the university hearing room. She had spent the journey back to Earth writing her thesis, documenting everything that had happened on Eridani 9, including all her protocol violations and their consequences. Gina Kim, a voice called. The committee will see you now. Gina entered the room where Professor Tae-won and 4 other academics sat behind a long table. They looked serious as Gina took her seat. Ms. Kim, Professor Tae-won began. Your actions on Eridani 9 represent the most serious breach of research protocols in the history of our department. Gina nodded, accepting the criticism. Yes, Professor. However, he continued, your thesis on the experience is the most comprehensive study of accidental cultural contamination we have ever seen. You documented your ethical struggles, your decisions, and their impacts with remarkable clarity. Gina looked up in surprise. The committee has decided, Professor Tae-won said, that while your methods violated our traditional approach, your results have provided invaluable insights that will shape our future protocols. He stood up and handed Gina a document. Congratulations, Dr. Kim. Your thesis has been accepted with distinction. Gina stared at the diploma in disbelief. I passed? With the highest honors, Professor Tae-won confirmed. Your experience has forced us to reconsider our non-interference policies. Sometimes, as you proved, helping is the right choice, even when it changes the natural course of development. 3 years later, Dr. Gina Kim stood once again on the bare surface of Eridani 9. This time she arrived openly with a team of researchers. The university had revised its policies, allowing for respectful contact with developing civilizations when appropriate. The Eridanian village had changed. New buildings stood where there had once been simple huts. A large structure with Yana's name on it served as a school where young Eridanians learned about hygiene, medicine, and science. Yana, now a respected leader, greeted Gina with joy. The teacher returns, she announced to the gathered crowd. Gina smiled as she saw the statue of herself standing not in the temple, but in front of the school. It no longer represented a goddess but showed her holding a book, a symbol of knowledge. On her office desk back at Seoul National University, Gina kept 2 treasured items side by side. The small statue the Eridanians had given her and her diploma. Both reminded her of the most important lesson she had learned, that sometimes the greatest test isn't following the rules, but knowing when to break them for the right reasons. As she walked through the village with Yana, seeing how her accidental visit had sparked positive change, Gina thought about her final exam. What had begun as a simple assignment had become her life's most meaningful work. They still told stories about her across Eridani 9, but Gina was glad they no longer worshipped her as a goddess. Being remembered as the teacher who brought knowledge, That was a far better legacy.